Can you Americans speak any other language than English?
When Trump starts his mass deportation, how will they know who to deport? I mean, 81% of Hispanics in the U.S. are citizens, so how will they tell? Will they walk up to every American and ask for an ID, or just some of us? I mean, these two people are walking down the street. Which one of them do you think the military will stop and ask for his papers? Or will they do it by language? If you can't speak English, will that be probable cause to detain you?
We're in the state of Mississippi. I don't care for the government. They don't show me anything.
You get food stamps.
Yeah, but I think I deserve food stamps. I have no employment.
Well, that guy's in trouble.
Because Trump is vowing to initiate deportation efforts on his very first day back in office. But the mayor of Denver is vowing to resist the president-elect's plans for mass deportations. Mike Johnston insists Denver is committed to protecting undocumented residents.
And so I'm for removing these people, but I would do it through the normal process of domestic policing.
Okay, that's Rand Paul. And what you're about to hear is pretzel logic at its best.
If he's going to resist federal law, which there's a long-standing history of the supremacy of federal law, if he's going to resist that, it will go all the way to the Supreme Court. And I would suspect that he would be removed from office. I don't know whether or not there'd be a criminal prosecution for someone resisting federal law, but he will lose. And people need to realize that what he is offering is a form of insurrection.
The mayor of Denver is like a lot of Americans who are ready to resist Trump's calls for mass deportation of brown people who are either here as U.S. citizens or have been here for years as undocumented contributors to what America used to be. You know, before this pig chortled up his hillbilly base of bigots and rednecky Americans to attack women, minorities, and the basic structure of our government.
There has to be some form of punishment.
Okay, first, the mayor of Denver, Mike Johnston, who, like millions of Americans, will not stand by for this crude roundup of Hispanics just to placate this racist, obese puddle of jizz.
I want to get your thoughts on deportations. Are there deportations that you support and those that you do not? Are there certain people that are in Denver right now that you say, yes, they should be deported? What is your line where you say, yes, I support these deportations, and no, I don't support these other ones?
Yeah, I think our line is clear. We think if you are a violent criminal that is committing serious crimes like murder or rape in Denver, you should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law and you should be deported. We support that. We have always supported that. We'll continue supporting that. We've worked with previous administrations on that. We will do it going forward. But let's be clear, that's not actually what the president is talking about. He's, I have to take him at his word when he says, I am going to try to deport 12 million people, and I will use the U.S. military to do that. We have never seen that in this country before. And 12 million people, that's 60% of those are currently working on the job today. 25% of those are children. Those are people that never have had a speeding ticket in their life. They are here working hard, trying to pay taxes, get status, play by the rules. And so I do not think anyone in America believes that that's what they've signed up for, but I have to take the president at his word when he says that's what he plans to do.
So let's take the president at his word. He said that he's willing to use the military to take out these deportations, to come into places like Denver especially, and deport people. What happens if the military comes in? What does Mayor Mike Johnston do?
Well, I think if that were to happen, I think that would be illegal, that would be immoral, and that would be un-American. I mean, you're talking about U.S. soldiers who should be coming back to their hometowns as heroes, not coming back as captors. But yeah, if you were talking about putting the U.S. military out on streets to take 14-year-old girls out of a 9th grade history class and arrest them, or to come to a baseball game and pick up someone's mom and dad while they're watching a game, or to come to your King Soopers and pull folks out of line, I don't think any U.S. soldier signed up to do that, nor do I think that it's illegal for an American president to ask them or require them to do that. And so we hope that is not going to be the plan, but we'll try to be prepared in every way we can to protect the residents here and to uphold the law, which we think that would clearly be in violation of.
So the future commander-in-chief of the U.S. military has said that is what he plans to do. How is Denver preparing for that? You've told other news outlets in the past couple of days that you were willing to send Denver police officers to the county line and say, the military isn't allowed to come in here, our police force will stop you. Are you willing to do that?
Yeah, I want to be clear. We have no plan for armed conflict with the federal government. We have no desire to do that. There is no interest and we have no plan to do that. What we are worried about is if we take him at his word that the plan is to use the U.S. military and to deploy them into cities to round people up. We think that is illegal and immoral, and it's un-American, and we would do everything we can to resist it. We'll look at legal options. We'll look at ways that we can mobilize people civically plea. We'll look at civil disobedience. All those are options.
All right, 2 points. First, Trump is not allowed under federal law to use troops against U.S. citizens unless he declares a national emergency, which he didn't do on January the 6th while his slack-jawed infantry tried to snuff Nancy Pelosi and Mike Pence.
You know what? I'm hearing the Pence just caved.
No.
Is that true?
I didn't.
I'm hearing reports that Pence caved.
No
I'm
way.
telling you, if Pence caved, we're gonna drag through the streets.
But Rand Paul, who is a tool, says that trying to protect both children and hardworking, undocumented second and third generation Americans, well, that's an insurrection.
And what would happen, and I think what will happen under Donald Trump's administration is, I don't recommend to use the Army, but I would use the FBI, I would use ICE, I would use Border Patrol, and they have a list now of 15,000. I don't care if it came in over 40 years or 10 years. If you've got a list, you put these people on a all points bulletin. These are the kind of people that are dangerous and that everybody needs to be the watch on, and they would go out and seek those people, whether or not there'd be a criminal prosecution for someone resisting federal law.
Arrest Americans who protest their government's illegal acts against their friends and neighbors. What Paul is doing is tiptoeing around Trump's threat, saying he's for the FBI and ICE arresting people randomly as opposed to using G.I. Joe, which people like Tom Homan, the hump he put in charge of this, says they're going to do. Detain 12 million people, put them in camps, then send them somewhere. Although no one is sure how they'll get Venezuela to accept them or to keep them from killing them when they do. I mean, you just heard Paul say they're trying to find 15,000 criminals by deporting 12 million people, but arresting Americans who are protesting the detainment of people who have never committed a crime, and including their children who were born here and are citizens, well, that is not an insurrection. This is an insurrection.
If you have a governor who says, I'm not going to cooperate, and I'm going to block you, well then federal funds should be slashed to that state, and I mean hugely so the people of that state understand that the governor is the responsible party.
It's also against federal law to withhold funds that Congress has appropriated, and of course those funds would most likely be everything from containing wildfires in California and social services in blue states. But when asked about how do you deport 12 million people without separating families, Homan said this.
Families can be deported together.
F*** you, man. Of course, what he's saying is he'll deport U.S. citizens. That's who those young children are. And these families we send back to Venezuela or Honduras who have committed no crimes other than to flee dictators and work 12 hours a day here at a fraction of what others are paid, you begin to understand why people like Denver Mayor Mike Johnson are pissed.
What would solve the whole thing in the border if they would just start shooting? Only shoot a couple and they would go home.
And let's be honest, okay? This isn't about crime. Proportionally, native-born Americans commit 12 times the number of crimes as immigrants, despite the fact that immigrants make 50% less. No, this is about race, bigotry, and allowing Trump to ride that wave of hate against immigration.
I want to be a dictator.
Just as authoritarian dictators have in the past. But if Trump gets his way, will we really get everyone who has violated immigration laws?
A new report from the Washington Post is claiming that Musk may have violated the U.S. immigration law himself back in the 1990s.
Look, what's happening here is an attack on Trump's political enemies, pure and simple. And Republicans must decide which side they will choose to defend. Will they see the millions of Americans and public officials standing up to Trump as a hopeful, prototypical American response to defend the powerless? Or will they do what they've done the last 8 years and instead stand alongside this dark omen, the disintegration of our democracy, and embrace Trump's sick purge, proving what most of the world can plainly see, that Trump and MAGA are in control, and all of that home of the brave and freedom shit has about as much credibility as Trump's Bibles?
Most importantly, I brought my Bible.
Perhaps the most blatant tell on who we are is our aversion to speaking Spanish. We pound our chests and say, America is an English-speaking one-language country. But what we're really saying is that unlike the immigrants we disparage, we're just too stupid to learn a second.
Damn right.
This is not a normal election.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
Whether the women like it or not.
Suck my fat one.
Who's with me?
Trust me.
Shut the f*** up, Dan.
Who's with me?
Oh yeah, the lie.
Indictable.
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Tick-tock.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.